Parsha Toldot begins with a pasuk. Ve'ela Toldot Yitzchak ben Avram. Avram hoiledes Yitzchak. These are the descendants of Yitzchak, the son of Avram. Avram gave birth to Yitzchak. The commentaries discuss that this pasuk seems to be redundant. If Yitzchak was the son of Avram, certainly Avram gave birth to Yitzchak. So there are several interpretations. First of all, it was only after Avram changed his name to Avraham, thus changing his mazel, that he gave birth to Yitzchak. Second of all, Avram gave birth to Yitzchak refers to the fact that Hashem made Yitzchak look exactly like Avraham, so the scoffers of the generation should not be able to say that Sarah became pregnant from Avimelech, who had abducted her. Other commentaries say that Avram hoiledes Yitzchak is referring to the fact that Avram not just gave birth to Yitzchak, but actually brought him up, as opposed to the other sons of Avraham that he sent away. The Or HaChaim says a fascinating pshat. He says that Yitzchak, the son of Avram, and Avram gave birth to Yitzchak, is referring to the two souls that Yitzchak had. When he was born, Yitzchak was born with a feminine soul, and at that time, he would have been unable to father children. It was only after Avram brought him up on the Akedah that Hashem granted him a masculine soul, which enabled him to have children. This is why when the angel told Avraham about the birth of Yitzchak, he said, Shoiv Ashuv Elecha, I will return to you. And this is referring to the two souls that Yitzchak would be granted. And that's why it repeats Avram, the son, Yitzchak, the son of Avram. Avram gave birth to Yitzchak, referring to the two souls that Avram bequested to Yitzchak. The Kli Yakar says that Avram hoiledes Yitzchak means that it was in the merit of Avraham that Yitzchak had children. We know that both Rivka and Yitzchak prayed to be able to have children. Hashem answered Yitzchak's prayer in the merit of Avraham, because Yitzchak was a tzaddik, the son of a tzaddik, as opposed to Rivka, who was a tzaddikis, the daughter of a rasha. So Avraham caused Yitzchak to be able to have children. Also, the Medrash says that Yitzchak, the son of Avram gave birth to Yitzchak, refers to the two joys that Avram had from Yitzchak. First of all, from his physical birth, and second of all, he got nachas from the fact that Yitzchak was such a tzaddik. And finally, the Medrash says that Yitzchak, the son of Avram, means that Yitzchak was proud of his father Avram. And Avram hoiledes Yitzchak means that Avram was proud of his son Yitzchak. And the Medrash goes on to say that grandparents too are proud of their grandchildren. As the pasuk says, Ateres Zakenim B'nei Vanim. The crown of the elders is their grandchildren. An example of this, the Medrash says, is from Avram himself. That Avram was saved from the fiery furnace in the merit of Yaakov. The Medrash says that Hashem would have considered having Avram actually burn in the furnace. This would have been a big Kiddush Hashem, and Avram gave his life up to Hashem. It also would have brought him great merit in the next world. But Hashem foresaw that Yaakov would come from Avraham. Yaakov was the progenitor of the 12 Shvatim and the Jewish people, and in their merit, Hashem saved Avraham. That's an example of a grandson that was the pride of his grandfather. So now I'm going to discuss a little bit about the different opinions of the obligation to honor grandparents. Interestingly, the Maharik, Rabbi Yosef Coulon of 15th century Italy, is of the opinion that there is no obligation of a grandson or grandchild, for that matter, to honor their grandparents. He points out that this is not mentioned anywhere in the Gemara, and in the earlier commentaries, and therefore there is no such obligation. He writes this in reference to a grandson being able to say Kaddish in those days when not everybody said Kaddish together. Only one person said it at a time. And he basically says that the grandson has no rights to say Kaddish for his grandfather or grandmother more than a stranger who is saying Kaddish as a hired person for somebody else. Because he says there is no obligation to honor the grandparent. Now, of course, we have to honor all respectable older people, and certainly if they taught us Torah and so on, but not in the category of a father. And the later commentaries bring support for the Maharik's view, because it says in the Gemara Makas, which is actually in the Daf Yomi of today, it says that if a father kills a son accidentally, his other sons have no right to kill him as the Goyal Hadam, as the avenger of the blood, because a son has to respect his father, and therefore he cannot kill his own father, even though that father did accidentally kill their brother. Nevertheless, the Gemara says, if a father killed his own son accidentally, that son's son, which is the grandson of the murderer, is allowed to kill his grandfather. And Rashi comments that there is no obligation on the grandson to honor his grandfather. And therefore, he is allowed to kill his own grandfather. So this seems to be a proof to the Maharik's position. However, the Ramah of Moshe Isserlish, in his commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, Yoredeya, Siman 240, disagrees and says that one must honor his grandparents, but that it is a secondary responsibility to honoring their parents. And support is brought for this position from the Medrash that says, Vayizbach zvachim lelekei aviv Yitzchak, before Yaakov went down to Mitzrayim, he sacrificed to Hashem, the God of his father Yitzchak. The Medrash says, why does it say the God of his father Yitzchak, as opposed to the God of Avram, that a person must honor their parent more so than their grandparent? So we see that there is an obligation to honor the grandparent, but that the obligation of the father comes first. The Bach adds support for this view, because he says that the Gemara says that honoring a parent is similar to honoring Hashem, because there are three partners in making a child, the father, the mother, and Hashem. And therefore, they are equated. So the Bach argues, if that's the reason, well, then a grandparent is also part of that equation and is a partner in the formation of the grandchild, and therefore should also be respected. In addition, we see that a grandfather plays the role of the father in terms of teaching his grandson Torah. That's an obligation. And therefore, it's only right that the grandson should treat his grandfather like a father in terms of respect. Nevertheless, as we said, the respect for the parents comes before the respect of the grandparents, which is why the Bach says that if a grandparent cannot afford to support himself, the son is the one who should support his father. But if he cannot, then the grandson should do so. In addition, the commentaries say, if there is a conflict between whom to respect, and the grandson has time or ability to only show the respect or help one or the other, he has to help his parent before the grandparent. That is his primary obligation. As far as the Gemara that we quoted from Makos, which is brought as a proof for the Maharik, so the commentaries say that in that case, it is a classic example of respecting the parent over the grandparent, because the Goyal Hadam, the avenger of the blood, is seeking to avenge the blood of his relative that was killed. So the grandson is avenging the blood and the honor of his own father by killing his grandfather. So he's seeking to primarily honor his father even at the expense of his grandfather's life. Rabbi Akiva Eger adds that all of the laws that apply to honoring and respecting a father and mother apply to honoring and respecting a grandfather and grandmother, except that they are secondary to the actual parents. Then there's a third opinion, and that is of the Vilna Gaon. And this is based on the Gemara in Soita, which says that Rav Acha Bar Yaakov brought up his daughter's son, Rav Yaakov. Presumably, Rav Yaakov's father had passed away, so Rav Acha Bar Yaakov acted as his stepfather. He was the grandfather who brought him up. Later on, when Rav Yaakov got older, and Rav Acha, his grandfather, asked him for water, Rav Yaakov said, "Although you brought me up, I'm not your son." And he did not get him water. And this seems to support the view that there is actually no obligation to show respect to a grandfather. However, the commentaries say the Vilna Gaon differentiates, and he says that because he was only his maternal grandfather, not his paternal grandfather, that's why there was no obligation. And he cites a medrash that says that the daughters of sons are considered sons, but the sons of daughters are not considered sons. And this is in the reckoning of the 70 souls that went down to Egypt. So similarly, the paternal grandfather is considered like the father as opposed to the maternal grandfather. Other commentaries explain that, of course, Rabbi Yaakov would never be so disrespectful as to refuse to get his grandfather a glass of water for no reason. He obviously was doing something important at that time. He was studying Torah. And even though it is a mitzvah to respect your grandfather, but nevertheless, it's not as great of a mitzvah as respecting the father, and one need not interrupt their Torah study to do so. In terms of the actual halacha, Rabbi Yaakov Breish of Zurich, Switzerland, writes in his response of the Chelkas Yaakov that we follow the opinion of the Ramah that one must honor their grandparents in the same way that one must honor their parents, except that one must give primary honor and respect to their parents. I wish you a good Shabbos and a good Chodesh.